We'd like to welcome you back to the Conscious Crew podcast. I'm DJ Marty, and today we've got Rodney Ryan in the studio along with Arena. So we're going to have them go ahead and introduce themselves and welcome to the show.
What's up? It's Rodney, my friend, Arena. Today we're going to talk about Arena. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
It gets to be all about me today?
Yeah, it's all about you.
I like that. No, I'm just kidding. I recently left the Department of Corrections where I taught for 11 years, teaching the Batterers Education Program, the Women's Moving On Program, CALM, which is Controlling Anger and Learning to Manage It, financial education, and the transitions for the federal inmates from incarceration back into society. I recently left there last year. I just got burnt out a little bit and wanted to focus more on myself and some things that I had put on the back burner. Mm-hmm. And so I'm getting back into my self-publishing and working on getting that off the ground and getting out there and actually promoting myself for the first time. Nice.
So you said you're doing self-publishing. What have you done already? I know you were talking about your book. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the first book that I ever self-published was called Hoarding Pennies. Mm-hmm. And it just hits on the fact that how important our financial security is. And a lot of times, you hear that people have nothing. They want to tell you that they don't have anything to save. But Hoarding Pennies is about starting small. It's about starting with the pennies, the free money, the pennies that you find on the ground.
Right.
After you make a purchase, that money that you have left over, that change. I was able to pay for my daughter's first year of college off of saving change and collecting cans.
That is amazing. So that book, it has tips and like strategies to do that?
Right, things that I did. It's not just about the money piece too. It has talks about mindfulness, because that is a very important factor in day to day. I also talk about having values and moving towards your values. If you value health and education in a home, what moves are you making to push you toward those goals and those values?
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. So, do you have any other books that you're working on, or?
I currently just finished This Chick Has Baggage.
Right. We talked about that a little bit.
Yes, it's a comedy, but it talks about each topics of baggage that we deal with in a daily basis. Mm-hmm. What happened was once I left the state and left corporate America, I was kind of left sitting around like trying to find my identity. Mm-hmm. And for so many years I was the federal community program monitor for the state of Iowa, and that was such a big title and a big
it's a big job
to live up to. Right. And I had all these responsibilities and I felt important, and so when I left the state it was just like I lost my identity there for a little bit, and I was like, who am I? And I was trying to find myself, and I didn't realize that who I was a mother, a daughter, a wife, a friend, and that was my identity. And once I realized I could find comfort in being those, and I didn't need this big title, I was able to kind of find some balance. Right. So I wrote This Chick Has Baggage because I also realized during that time all the stuff that I've been carrying around all these years, I don't know how I did it on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. It was just like, whether you have emotional baggage, the ex baggage, I was in an abusive relationship, being a single mother, I was carrying all this stuff around, and I needed to put it down because I can't be my best self for my family if I'm carrying around this stuff every day, because come to the end of the day, I'm tired, I'm wore out, and I'm not my 100% authentic self at that point. I'm beat.
Yeah. Well, so you feel like that book helped you to heal a lot?
Yes, it did. And it just kind of makes fun of it. It's got
a
comedy.
Sometimes that's the best way to do it.
You gotta laugh.
I tell people a lot that jokes are, comedy or laughing is like the best medicine.
Laughing is a healing power for sure.
Absolutely.
100% for sure. And that's why I kind of did it. I've never done anything like that, but I put that comedy spin on it. because I just wanted people to laugh, but also know that, you know, there's that fear baggage, there's guilt baggage, there's just so many different types of baggage, but you have to know and acknowledge it in order to start healing and fixing it.
That, well said. Well said. I couldn't have said that better myself. Okay, so I'm a type of person, I'm super fascinated on how people think. So I love to read like autobiographies and self-help books and stuff like that. So I was going to ask you, do you have like a mantra? Like one that really sticks out to you, or something that you kind of live by, or?
Not really.
No.
You know, I just try to live walking in my purpose every day.
That's a mantra?
That's basically awesome. What I want to do is walk in my purpose every day, no matter if I'm walking through some crap,
right,
or I'm walking through the sunshine with the sun beaming on my skin, dancing on my skin.
Right.
But if I'm walking in my purpose every day, then I'm living my best life.
Perfect. Okay, so...
What about you?
Me? Do I have a mantra?
Yeah.
Question everything. That's my mantra. I like to keep an open mind, so I don't accept anything as fact until I experience it for myself.
Right. Because a lot of times we do things based on the opinion of others.
Yeah.
And that's not the way to do things, because otherwise you're walking somebody else's walk.
Truth, right? Yeah, exactly. You know, I actually read that because I've read so many like self-help books. That's like my favorite type to read, and I read it somewhere. You know, it's good to learn and take what you take from these books, but you have to still trust your own knowing and trust your own truth. So that's what I do. I try to question everything. Got a good question. For anybody out there that's listening, they might want to publish a book. Do you want to give us like a light rundown on how to do that?
It actually, when I first started the self-publishing process, I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
It took me forever. But it is on Kindle Direct Publishing. They lay it out for you so well that you can't mess it up. It's once you learn and kind of research some of the questions that they're asking you, if you know your IBSN numbers, things like that. But if you know the gist of publishing, not of publishing, the gist of using a computer, then you're going to be able to publish on Kindle.
Awesome.
And ask questions. People who have, if you know someone who's self-published before, ask questions. Get on there. They have like a group where people can go in and ask questions and get answered. Just make sure you are utilizing the services that are available. The self-publishing, I use a lot of Fiverr. Are you familiar with them?
You told me about it a little bit. Just in case anybody's listening that doesn't know about it, you can tell us about it.
Fiverr is amazing. I get my covers done on there. I get my editing done on there. It's reasonably priced. The people are amazing. But I do use them for a lot of my cover art and things like that as well.
Nice. Okay, so do you have like any advice for people who are aspiring to write, or
just write? A lot of times people will come up to me and they'll tell me, you know, I want to write this book, I got this idea, but the first important thing is to actually put it down on paper. Even if it doesn't make sense to you, just put it down on paper, write your thoughts down, just kind of start brainstorming and then go from there. But if you keep saying I'm going to do it, and then you don't take any initiative, you're never going to get it done.
Right.
But by just committing even 5 minutes a week, you know, a few minutes a day, at the end of the day, just jotting down your thoughts or any things that have popped in your head, that's going to get the ball rolling and get you to where you're thinking about it more often.
Yeah,
you can start the process.
You definitely inspired me when we were talking on the phone. I was driving, and you're like, well, just use your voice to text.
Yes.
And I got a little bit going. You said, like, on your way to work or on
you
your way home.
Use every moment that you can,
yeah.
And that's a moment. So a lot of times we're driving, and if you're not, like, rocking out like me, I'm, you know, doing my own episode in the car.
Right.
But when I'm not, I will do a voice to text, and then when I get home, email it to myself, copy and paste it, and I finished a paragraph or, you know, a few pages in a matter of driving to the store, picking up my kids from somewhere.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, they keep me on the run.
Oh, yeah. Oh, those kids keep us going, don't they? Okay. Did you have authors that were like that author really made me want to write?
Inspiration.
Yeah, inspiration.
Well, you know, growing up, a lot of it was just, for me, was just Maya Angelou. She's just completely amazing. But recently, I don't know if you guys have heard of Tracy Garvis Graves. Mm-mm. She wrote this book on the island, and she's from West Des Moines. She worked full-time. She was a mother, and she was able to get this book finished and published and become a bestseller. And she inspired me a little bit because I felt like if we're out working every day, being moms, doing all this stuff, and you can still get what you want to get done, then there's no excuses for nobody.
That's right.
We're doing it.
I love it.
Because, you know, we wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
Every day. You know, we're the mom, the cook, the doctor, the chauffeur, Uber, you know, we're all of it. And
counselor, advisor, yeah.
Surgeon.
Right. Right. Okay, well.
So I got a question, though. You said you worked with the state doing some domestic violence and things like that.
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about that position and how that, what were your duties and how did that, let me get a little insight on that side of things.
I was a community program monitor for the state of Iowa Department of Correctional Services. Originally, when I got into the position, it was for the Batterers Education Program.
Okay.
It was a little hard for me to do at first because coming from an abusive relationship, I didn't know how I would deal with that and being on listening to the stories and things like that. But I am so
you work
glad.
with men and women?
Men and women.
Okay.
Batters. Yes.
All right.
We taught the Batterers Education Program is a 24-week course that they had to attend weekly, and they had to be financially responsible for it. It was a grow time for me, being in there and listening to these stories and getting a better understanding of what society doesn't get to see. I had a guy who was in our Batterers Education Program, and a lot of times you know why they're there, but this guy honestly did not know why he was there. Him and his wife were having an argument. And so if me and you were standing here having an argument, found out his wife was cheating, took her cell phone and threw it up against the wall. That doesn't sound too crazy.
Right.
But people aren't aware that carries charges with it.
Right.
And so all of a sudden he's like, I didn't hit my wife, why am I here? But knowing that ended up having a charge with it, which was the intimidation charge.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't familiar with that.
Yeah.
And what kids don't find out that their boyfriend or girlfriend is cheating and break their phone.
Right.
You know, and even though you shouldn't break the phone, it is intimidation. But if they were aware of that situation, would they have done that?
Well, see, and that's what we're about, is awareness. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Hopefully, maybe a viewer will see this, and that will add to think about that before, because I wouldn't know that.
Right.
See, I know of somebody that almost that similar situation. Somebody had slashed somebody's tires. He said, the guy said, well, I bought the damn tires. Why? But they were all, and again, they were married. So, really it was.
What's yours is mine, mine is
yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the law don't see it that way. So, the charges
phone,
came.
Right. Well, the phone situation had 2 charges that came with breaking that phone. Do you know what they are?
I would guess. Let me see. Obstruction, like emergency. You can't stop somebody from calling the police. So there's a fight going on. You can't stop them.
Right. And you're absolutely right. But a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
It's intimidation and then disconnecting or failure to allow communications to 911. So he ended up with 2 charges. And I use that story because today's society, that doesn't seem, you hear people all the time. You see people get mad and bust the phone and break the phone, but they need to be aware that comes with consequences.
Yeah.
And I think
That's a good
another
insight.
thing,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
would have never done that.
see with the domestic violence, like you're saying, every situation is so unique because you know, by rights, if a woman puts hands on you, you know, it should be the same. Now, the police and different people may handle it differently depending, but by rights, you know, you're supposed to have it's supposed to be both ways.
Yeah.
I would say like today's society, though, it seems that like they're gonna say, you know, oh, he's being a punk. You know, if you let your girl smack you upside the head, you call the police. You know, I'm gonna say, Rodney, oh, come on, man.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna judge you on it, but
Right.
you shouldn't. You know,
Yeah.
because if it happens to you, you can't. You know, we can't go around smacking everybody in the head. So
Right.
we got to be held all to the same standards.
And
Absolutely.
two, with the women's battery education program, that was something different for me too.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, when we started, we had a couple classes of 10, a couple times a week. By the time I had went over to work with the feds, we were full to the max. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it has picked up a lot. But the thing about the women's education that was hard for me is that a lot of times they were getting beat on and beat on and beat on. And then the first time they decide to fight back,
They got in trouble.
they got in trouble, you know. So it is a very hard, that area is very hard to teach. And it takes a lot from you, and you start seeing perspectives and understanding the batterers, whether they be male or female, but understanding, you know, their backgrounds and where this is coming from, but at the same time being able to watch some of them actually grow and understand and want to change. That was the biggest thing that kept me going, is that there was men and women who really wanted to change.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I would say it seems like a lot of people. Domestic violence is kind of it happens everywhere, but it's seems to be more prominent in the lower income neighborhoods. Am I right? I mean, you're the professional here, but to me, I would say, you know, it shouldn't be a lifestyle, but you know, the bills aren't paid. You know, it's a building frustration.
Yeah.
Financial, that's the biggest
Yeah,
one.
financial,
Yeah.
you know, or kids, you know, oh, you're not gonna let me see, you know, broken home, you know, type of situation,
It's
things like that.
Yeah, the drug and alcohol use
Oh, yeah,
too. Because
drugs and alcohol,
a lot of
sure.
times, you know, people are coming from those backgrounds are hurting. And so they self-medicate by using the drugs and the alcohol, which in return you got two people drinking and hostile, you know, you're going to end up with some problems. But that's education, going back and educating these people and helping them learn that there's more to life than just this, and healing them. But a lot of times it's just easier to put them in jail, and they're not really
Right.
getting the help that they
Let's throw them in
need.
jail, make them pay us some
Right.
money, and maybe they'll figure it out.
So I have a question. So let's say somebody's watching our podcast and they're in a situation where they feel like there's a potential for it to be domestic violence. Is there resources that you can think of, or that we could post underneath this podcast, so they can reach out and get help?
Yeah, Children and Families of Iowa, United Way, they all have different programs. I know Lutheran has different types of groups and things like that. But there are a lot of things out there that, you know, are offering help and guidance. But I definitely would recommend Children and Families of Iowa, because they have a good understanding of a lot of the violence and situations that people can be put in.
Okay, awesome. And that would be if one or the other felt they had to kind of do it discreetly.
Right.
They could do that.
And I know that, like, on some of the, when you go to some of the websites, they have like a hidden button, and if all of a sudden someone was behind you or you didn't want somebody to see, you can just hit that button and it kind of takes you away from where you are.
Perfect. Thank you. That's another insight that could be very helpful to people.
And, sorry.
No, that's okay.
And touching on another thing Marty had said about the financial and those situations, the bills not being paid, that comes back again to the financial education, you know, helping people get that savings where their life is not so stressful, that they're dealing with, you know, being hungry, not having clothing, the proper clothing for their kids, all that builds up and just adds to those situations.
And I heard that the worst times for domestic violence or for any kind of family disputes is actually around the holidays. Now, we just came out of the holidays, and I didn't see anything on my side, so that's a blessing, and I'm glad that we're all coherent, and everyone had a happy holidays that I'm aware of. But, it's those expectations. People have rise expectations. Well, Aunt Susie gonna come over. We're gonna have this for dinner, this, and this. Well, then somebody forgot to get the turkey.
Right.
So then you get upset. And all those expectations that you had in your head. Same thing with birthdays and all. Anything that's a long weekend. Plus everybody overindulging on the those special times and the holidays. Right. So, I'm sure that plays a role in it, too.
Yeah, the holidays for sure, because, too, a lot of times, depending on the weather, you're being cooped up.
Oh, sure.
And then, again, stress will be added to it with the whole dealing with the family. And then a lot of times people are missing loved ones over the holidays as well. So they start that self-medicating, and it just kind of leads to a lot of domestic violence issues during
when you really mixing a lot of personalities too around the holidays, because you might not have seen the family since last year, and then you guys get back together, but they did something foul 8 months ago, so you're you're doing a lot of mixing there, but
or Karen brings her new boyfriend and
it
wasn't what you expected,
right,
yeah, so you get to judging. So it's important to keep these things in mind, and being mindful. Be mindful of all these things. That way, we're still going to have the
and learn positive coping skills, I think.
Yeah, speaking on the coping, why don't you tell us, is there any kind of, any tools that people could use to help them get through, say, somebody's getting ready to have an issue at home or stress is rising, you just lost your job, or like you said, you just found out somebody was cheating in a relationship, something like that. What can the viewer take to maybe help them? We already talked about the children and family might be able to assist, but do you have anything else for us?
I am a journaler and a music listener. I love to listen to music to kind of calm me down. Now, there's a difference, though. If I go and put on some music that's getting me all hyped up, I might get worked up. So I usually try to use music that is a little bit more soothing, and meditation. I thought it, you see these things and people meditating and you kind of think, that's cheesy, that's a joke. It's not. It really does help you learn to control and calm your mind. And so I am definitely all for meditation. I know some people like to go pump iron and stuff, but you got to understand what your body is doing during that time. And if you're out there pumping iron and you're up there talking smack, getting worked up more, then that's probably not a good idea for you. Maybe you need to go do a light walk.
Yeah. I have a tool that I use, and I mean I haven't had any issues with domestic violence, but I was raised around violence, so my anger will get up. I'll just count backwards: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, calm, and then calm myself.
And people think that's cheesy, but it is so not. It is so. If you can get yourself down to get that split second to think about your next move.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and even if they do think it's cheesy, it's the difference between freedom.
Causing, just go take some time to yourself and then, come back at it. Think about it more tomorrow. Sometimes it takes me 3 days out there. If something happens, I'll be pondering, in the back of my mind. Then after 3 days, I'm like, all right, well, either it wasn't that big a deal or, or whatever. So.
And two, as long as you guys are both on the same page with that, because a lot of times during those moments we get upset and we want to leave, and then that person feels like we've walked out on them. So having an understanding beforehand, when I'm getting upset and I need to walk out of the room, I'm not walking out on you. Yeah. I just need to take a moment for myself. Right. Otherwise, if those kind of things aren't established, then you end up making it worse by making them feel like you walked out. Because if we arguing and you walk out the door, in my head, you done left and went to the bar, you done cheated, you done. But if we have an understanding of, I'm going to go for a small drive and just calm down, and I just give me a day, to let it settle in. Just making those boundaries beforehand, before the fight happens in a relationship.
That's great information.
It's true.
Something me and one of my exes had was we had a situation where we couldn't come to a conclusion on an argument, so we just had a safe word. I can't remember what the word was.
That's awesome.
It was a safe word that we just said, okay, we agreed to disagree.
Right.
We're strong-minded people. Let it go.
Right. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It might be a tool that people could use.
True.
Anything else?
No, I think, man, I appreciate you coming on, and we had some good conversations. So we heard about, your experience with the Department of Corrections, right? State of Iowa. And also, your 2 books you got out, right? So if somebody wanted to find your book to read more about it, how could they do that?
My book, Hoarding Pennies, is actually published under Helen Horn on Amazon. And then This Chick Has Baggage is published under Arena Horn on Amazon as well.
All right, so y'all heard it. Arena Horn on everything. Amazon and... You said Amazon on both? Okay, perfect.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, sorry. So, look her up on Amazon and be sure to check out her book. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right.